Hello, I'm Adrian Clarke and welcome to the breakdown. Let's get straight down to business, shall we? And analyse the Gunners' display at Anfield in that 1-0 defeat. A real sore one, an absolute wounder, wasn't it, from an Arsenal perspective? Can have no argument about the quality of the free kick that wins the game. Szoboszlai gets dip on it, he gets unbelievable pace, and it's always swerving away from David Raya. So there's nothing you can do about that. Could we have stopped that free kick? Could we have not given that foul away? Maybe. We'll get to that a little bit later on in the show. Just before we get into the nuts and bolts of the analysis, I do want to say that I think the media narrative coming out of Anfield's a little bit unfair. Had Szoboszlai stuck that free kick into the Kop, we come away and everyone says that was, defensive masterclass from Arsenal, the first team to shut out Liverpool at Anfield in the league for nearly a year. Without Saliba, all praise would go to Arsenal, and everyone would say, well, Liverpool, did they really push for it? Were they too nervous? They were on home turf, they should have gone for it. And of course, as it happens, they're labelling that at Arsenal, aren't they? Arsenal should have gone for it. And I think that is a little bit harsh, to be perfectly honest, because I saw two teams that were equally cautious, two teams that were equally respectful of one another, and they cancelled each other out. Nobody wanted to make a mistake. Let's have a look at a little graphic here from our friends at Opta. This one's on the Opta Analyst website if you want to check it out. And it shows the shots, the XG map. And Arsenal, have a better XG, have certainly more shots inside the box. A lot of those shots from Arsenal inside the box were well blocked by Liverpool, it has to be said. And look, from the home team's point of view, most of the shots are right on the edge of the box at most. They were really, really struggling. And I would say that really there was only one 15-minute period where Liverpool were absolutely on top, and that was just after half-time. And I think if we're going to have regrets, no, we probably do, Mikel Arteta may look back on this and think, what could I have done differently? I think he might look at that period, 45 to 60 minutes, where it felt like our pragmatic style was beginning to wane and that Liverpool were finding an answer. They were popping up in areas that they weren't in the first half. And they were starting to make things happen. The crowd are up. Could then he have changed it? Could then he have gone, right, now it's time to unleash Eza and Ødegaard, and we get back on the front foot and we really take the game to Liverpool as a sort of phase two of the tactical approach? Because at half-time, has Liverpool ever been flatter? Has Anfield ever been quieter? I'm not quite sure. It's the first time since 2021 that they'd had so few shots in the first half. So, there's a real element of calmness and an aura about Arsenal without the ball, a real quiet confidence. That was beginning to crumble a little bit, and I think that was the time to change it. Instead, waited sort of 10, 15 minutes too long, in my opinion. Eza and Ødegaard come on, and we do get back on the front foot. Ultimately, we lose the game. But yeah, I think that is where the regret will come, not necessarily from the approach. And of course, look, if you play for a 0-0 draw at Anfield, I'm not saying we're playing for a 0-0, we wanted to score, of course we did. If you play that kind of cagey game, go for sort of a clean sheet, it's fraught with danger. And Liverpool did score, and that's now a record 37 Premier League matches in a row where Liverpool have scored. They just don't blank very often at all. So yeah, look, it was highly frustrating. Let's get into some of the moments, shall we? The bigger moments, and we'll start with the times where Liverpool did give us trouble. And I want to show you this little freeze frame here. Van Dijk has the ball, and you see in the bottom right there, Szoboszlai, the right back, who played ever so well. He makes a run on the blind side of Gabriel Martinelli. Now, Liverpool weren't doing this in the first half. They were very, no one was really moving out of their position too much. They were predictable. But Szoboszlai from right back decides to go and play at number 10. So we flick it through to the next part, and Van Dijk slides it between Rice and Zubimendi, who've both got players. It's a narrow gap. It's a brave forward pass, and he gets it in that number 10 slot. And from there, that's where Florian Wirtz gets his shot away. It's spilled, and luckily for Arsenal, the offside flag goes up. So we got away with that one. Just a momentary lapse, but it was Liverpool doing something different. And it was Van Dijk playing a really progressive, brave pass through the lines, through Rice and Zubimendi, who'd been excellent in the first half defensively, weren't quite as effective from half-time onwards. Let's look at how the free kick was conceded when Zubimendi pulled down Curtis Jones. Here we freeze it with Van Dijk again. And this came from a piece of play that was on Arsenal's left. The ball gets moved to Van Dijk in the middle, and we haven't quite set. And what Curtis Jones does, who's playing centre midfield, he wanders into that number 10 spot between the lines. He's not in the position he should be in, but he just chances his arm. Van Dijk sees him, and he plays that pass in between Rice and Zubimendi, who aren't quite set as a pair. If anything, it's Rice's man, because Wirtz to the right of Zubimendi is who he's shackling. Ødegaard, in fairness, is blocking that passing lane, but there's not a lot of time to think about it. He gets it, of course. Zubimendi tracks back and makes the foul, and the rest is history. So really frustrating. 2 times, really the only 2 times, that Van Dijk plays a pass between Rice and Zubimendi, and we're in trouble. So what can we learn from that? Maybe from our point of view? Well, did we have that connector, that player in the pocket often enough? And when I think about this game, I think the answer has to be no. We just sort of went with a really cautious midfield unit, no real number 10 to speak of. So Mourinho played there, but he wasn't taking up those kind of positions at all. It was really a front three. Give it to Madueke and make something happen. We really lacked that connector at number 10 until, of course, Martin Ødegaard come on towards the end of the game. Let's have a look at some successful passes, or our successful passes inside the final third. This is Arsenal, of course. And look, David Raya is joint top with Jurriën Timber in terms of successful passes that reach an Arsenal player in the final third. Some of his long-range distribution was excellent, actually. Timber as well. And look who's third. It's Martin Ødegaard, and he comes on at the 70 minutes. So we really did miss that player to link between the midfield and the attack. Too much really was asked of Madueke. Not a lot came off for us down the left, it has to be said. Not until Eze come on, of course. Gyökeres was really, really isolated. And I do think if there is a criticism of Arsenal from this game, and there has to be a bit of reflection, it has to be that could we have been more creative? And the answer has to be yes. I think we did lack a little bit of creativity, certainly in and around the final third. Probably the best pass of the game came from David Raya, where he goes 80 yards over Milos Kerkez for Madueke, puts him away. He has a great little run, ducks inside, shoots, on target, it's deflected over the bar. That was the pass of the game from an Arsenal point of view. I'm clutching really at other moments. I'm thinking of Gyökeres twice getting into the box, holding it up, setting it for others. There was one beautiful little square pass from Eze late on into Ødegaard, inside the D. But that aside, we didn't really play or find that killer pass anywhere near often enough. Now, there was an opportunity very early on in the game to make that pass, and this was the moment that probably really frustrated me, and I'm sure you guys the most. So let's have a little look at it. It comes from a counter where Calafiori makes a terrific block from a Salah shot, and Martinelli races upfield on the counter-attack. Now, these are the moments we've signed Victor Gyökeres for. Now, you see here, early on, he's just over the halfway line. Can he play that pass in behind Konate? Now, Konate's not slow, but Gyökeres, once he gets motoring, is quick enough to get on the end of that pass. It doesn't come. So we'll flick it to a couple of seconds later. He's a little bit closer, isn't he? Getting towards the final third. And Victor, mate, he's starting to really make that dynamic run to go in behind Konate. And again, it doesn't come. He holds onto the ball, loses it, and the move is gone. If we're not going to play in Victor Gyökeres in those kind of positions, then there's no real point in picking him in the starting 11. So that pass has to come. He has to play with his head up there and just lay him in. And look, if Konate gets back and makes a tackle, bravo to him. But you have to play that. And hopefully moving forwards, whoever's playing in that position will look to release the ball and give him a chance to feed off the type of service that Victor Gyökeres wants. Right, let's look at some positives. And there were a lot of positives in my opinion. Okay, the only negative was creativity and the fact that we conceded a goal. And, you know, could we have been a bit braver? lots more positives. And most of them, I guess, are around what we did out of possession, but not with Noni Madueke. I'm going to pick out Noni Madueke. I think he was our most dangerous player, quite clearly, in the game. He ran at Milos Kerkez every time he had it. In fairness to Kerkez, he held his own. He stuck to his task. And it was a kind of a dual shed at the end of the day. But he was terrific in terms of his bravery on the ball. He wanted to go at him. 3 shots, 9 touches inside the opposition box, which is no mean feat at Anfield. And it was way ahead of anyone else, actually. The next closest, and this probably tells a story, the next closest Arsenal player in terms of touches inside the opposition box was on 4, which is a lot less than 9. And it was Jurriën Timber and Max Dowman, who again, it came on very late in the game. So we really could have got, or should have got, players into the danger zone a lot more frequently than we did. So yeah, that was a definite positive. I think that Declan Rice deserves a shout here. I know that we saw some clips earlier of passes played in between him and Zubimendi, but overall I think Declan had a really good game. He was often in the right place to intercept or to mop up, and he defended really, really well on inside our own box or in that defensive third. You can see that on this defensive chalkboard again from Opta for Declan Rice. There is defensive contributions, a lot of them at opportune, key moments. He had 7 ball recoveries in the end. I think he made a couple of blocks, some really useful interceptions as well. We did miss his drive in the game in terms of on the ball. We didn't really see him striding forward like he can to take the fight to Liverpool. But what we did see was him come very deep in that first half, get it between the centre halves, and he helped us play out. And I think he looked after the ball exceptionally well and did a good job. He did what was asked of him in that position. In the second half, him and Zubimendi definitely played a bit higher up the pitch, but maybe didn't influence the game on the ball as much as he would have liked. But I think without it, Declan Rice was terrific, as was Ricardo Calafiori. Again, I think that you have to look at Salah and his non-contribution, really. I think it took to the 73rd minute for Salah to have his first shot of the game. It was a very low XG moment. It was blocked by Calafiori as well. He was nullified. He didn't do anything really. Calafiori pocketed him. He won his duels. And I also thought he looked nice and calm on the ball as well, Calafiori. He wasn't fazed by the occasion at all. And I thought that he took up some lovely positions as well on the inside. When we're looking to play out, whether it's David Raya or one of the centre halves, he got himself into midfield and said, yeah, give it to me. So Calafiori for me was strong, and he just absolutely justified his selection. In terms of who was Arsenal's main man in the game, I have to say it's Christian Mosquera. I think he just shades it ahead of Noni Madueke, who ultimately didn't create a clear-cut chance. Yes, he had our only shot on target, a couple of other efforts as well, but ultimately, he wasn't able to impact the game the way he wanted. Well, Mosquera, I think, was almost flawless in what he produced. Comes on after 3 or 4 minutes. It's not easy at all for him to settle in. He's never started a Premier League game before, but I thought he handled it magnificently. He got tight to Hugo Ekitike every single time, and Ekitike wants to come short and link play. He wants to drag defenders out of position, and Mosquera went with him every time. He was physical, aggressive. He won his challenges. He won his duels. He cleared danger on numerous occasions, and he put Ekitike in his back pocket as well, really. I also thought that Mosquera was great on the ball, and this is really important because Saliba gets a lot of it, and Mosquera, he's got to want it, and no one actually made more accurate passes than Mosquera in the game. 47 of them. It was a 92.2% pass accuracy as well, which was the best of all the Arsenal starters. And he wasn't, a lot of the passes were safe, simple ones, but not all of them. Sometimes he would play that brave pass into midfield. So Mosquera, it was a big, big positive. You can say about what happened with Saliba, should Arsenal made that call before the game, that if he's twisted his ankle, he's not right. It's easy in hindsight to say that, isn't it? What it did do, it limited Arteta's substitute windows, didn't it? So he had to use one very, very early on. And maybe that's why he waited a little bit longer than most of us wanted for Eze and Ødegaard to come into the game. So yeah, it was a big, big moment, but Mosquera handled himself and the occasion excellently, in my opinion. So, in terms of summing up the game, ultimately, hugely disappointing. But those people that are saying Arsenal got what they deserved for their attitude towards it, absolutely nothing. That is garbage. That is a terrible assessment of the game, in my opinion, because it was an impeccably well-drilled performance. Out of possession, Arsenal were terrific, nearly flawless. Not quite. We've seen those occasions where we did get opened up, but they were very few and far between. So we have to take hold of that and say, right, we are still a very, very solid defensive team. We're not going to lose many games. What we've now got to do is park that and say that was the toughest game of the season. We've got to now create more. We've got to go and score more, create more chances. We've got to score more goals. We've got to be more proactive and positive in our approach, because we know that without the ball, we're going to do a good job. And that's the challenge in hand now for Arsenal. If this game had come a few weeks down the line, where Gyökeres is bedded in, Ez is bedded in, Zubimendi is up to the speed of Premier League football, maybe, just maybe, we might, and we'd have had Havertz available, or Saka as well, and Saliba, and others, and Ødegaard, who of course missed the game from the start. If we'd had our full strength team a few weeks down the line, we might have attacked that game in a slightly more positive, proactive manner. As it happened, we were depleted. We went for safety first. But so did Liverpool. And this game really should have been drawn at worst. And unfortunately, for Arsenal, it was a moment of absolute brilliance from Szoboszlai that gave the points to Liverpool. And we have to take that blow in the stomach, and we have to pick ourselves up, and we go again after the international break against Nottingham Forest, isn't it, at home, where I'm sure it'll be a very, very different type of match. So there you go. That is my breakdown of Arsenal's performance at Anfield. I will be back in a few days' time with another video, I'm sure. Thanks so much for all the support on the channel. I really, really appreciate it. Please keep liking, keep subscribing, tell your friends. I really, really appreciate it. Until next time then, it's bye from me.